welcome. I know it's been a long time. Happy New Year. This is my first video of 2023 and today I'm gonna answer the question, why is this master's 3 years and not 1 year like most other master's degrees? I get asked that question a lot when people are like, oh my gosh, your master's is 3 years, and I'm like, yep, bloody well it is 3 years. So let's get into it. I think the quickest route to do this course is about 2 years. If I remember correctly, a few years ago when I was going on like open days and stuff at different universities, I think there was, or looking online, there was a university that, some universities that did 2 years, but I'll double check, where it's like the fast version of the course. But I mean, and its class is full time, so it's not really possible to do this course full time in 1 year. It's just literally impossible in every aspect that you can think of. If someone was to do this year in one course, it would literally just be way too financially demanding, emotionally demanding, and just too demanding of your time, and you just would not be able to do anything else except this course. So let's begin with the financial side of it. Each year the government has been slowly increasing the master's degree loan for people that started last year like myself. So when I started the course, the allowance was £11,836, but I believe this year it will probably go up again. Unfortunately, this money is supposed to stretch over 3 years, whereas if I was to get this for a 1 year master's, this money would obviously be able to cover my tuition because the course tuition is only £6,000. But most master's degrees can be covered by that amount because most master's degrees are 1 year. But the government doesn't really take into consideration that people's masters are different length of time, so they don't give it to you based on how many years your master's is. They'll just give you the amount that you're allowed. So yeah, it would be nice if they gave me 11,000 divided by 3, because then I wouldn't be stressing the way I am right now. So to make matters worse, the 11,000, I'm just going to round it down to 11k, is divided into 3. So it's about just over 3k each year. And then on top of that, they then divide it for each term. So 3,000 divided by 3 terms. So that's just over 1k each month. And so each year I only get about 3k when my tuition is over 6k. So that means about 3k is from the government, the other 3k is from my own pocket, which has been really difficult so far. I was so close to not carrying on into second year because I just could not afford it. So you're getting just over 1k 3 times a year for the 3 semesters. So that's September, January and April. So in of itself, you're already going to be in a financial deficit where you have to come up with the other half of your tuition fees. And then once you are in first year, you're obviously going to have to consider paying for the time that you travel to uni and back, whether that's fuel for your car, trains, buses, whatever it may be. You're gonna have to then pay for that as well. And then once you're in second year and third year, you're gonna have to consider on top of that paying for travel to placement and back if your placement is face-to-face, which most of them are. So unless you're doing online, then you're not gonna obviously have to travel anywhere. So those are the weekly expenses that you have to think about. Oh, and then the other weekly expenses is your counselling sessions, which depending on where you are, they could range from about £20 to £60 per session. So every single week you're paying either maybe anywhere between £20 to £60 every single week. That adds up to about £80 to £240 a month that you're paying to have your counselling sessions, which are mandatory to do on the course. This is first year, second year and third year. You have to do 35 hours of therapy for the whole academic year. And then you've got the monthly fees that you have to consider, which are going to be probably around £50. Thankfully, my placement pays for my supervision. Some placements will be nice enough to pay for your supervision, so you don't have to worry about that. But if they don't, then you're going to have to consider maybe paying £50, around that range. But if you're doing group supervision, then it's going to be cheaper because the price will be divided between all of you. So that might be £20–30 for every session. So it's still going to amount to like an extra maybe £50 to £100 every single month, if not more, depending on how much your supervisor is. And then you've got annual fees. So from second year and third year, you're going to have to pay for insurance to practice as a trainee counsellor, and you also then have to for your BPS membership, which is about £70. So the insurance will range depending on where you get it from. It could be anywhere between £40 to £70 each year. So all of that is a lot of money that's expected of you financially. You can do the maths. I'm not going to calculate all of it, but as you can see, you got weekly expenses, monthly expenses, yearly expenses. So it's a lot of expenditure coming out on top of the tuition fees as well. So as you can see, the course can be definitely financially demanding, and imagine having to do that multiplied by 3 in 1 year. So instead of spreading that cost over 3 years, you're pushing all of that cost into 1 year. That's a lot of money that I think a lot of people would struggle to come up with. So it makes sense that all of these expenses, so like for example, the counselling that you're doing, 80 to 240 pounds a month, imagine that times 3, because you're trying to do all of it in 1 year instead of 3 years. It's way too much. And logistically speaking, you would not be allowed to have that many clients in one go, because at the moment you maybe have 5 clients a week during your placement, and that's acceptable, but you can't then have 15 clients a week while you're just training. It's going to be way too much workload, way too much going on, way too much for you to analyze, and way too much to go to your supervisor with. So it just would not make sense to try and do the course in such a short space of time, because you need to get 200 hours of placement over 2 years. So in second year it's 100 hours, and in third year it's 100 hours. Now trying to fit all of that into 1 year is just not going to be possible, because then you're going to have to see your supervisor more frequently, and your supervisor probably might not have the time of day to see you, have the other supervision clients, and also have their own workload that they're doing with their clients. So it's just not logistically possible. And on top of that, you probably would not have a social life, because then you would have to attend uni 3 times a week, because we have 1 day of uni every year. So for last year, my uni day was Wednesday. This year, my uni day is Friday, and next year it's going to be Thursday. So that means you would need 3 days of uni every single week, which is just not possible, because then you won't have time to see all your clients for the remaining 2 days, and supervision on top of that. It's just not going to be possible. So that's why the course is split over 3 years, because trying to fit all of the material in 1 year, as well as placement and assignments and supervision, you're just not going to have time to work, you're not going to have time to spend with your family, you're not going to have time to yourself, and you're just not going to be able to keep up with the workload. Like, it's just going to be way too much. So I would just say, get comfortable with the idea of the placement being 3 years, because it's going to be 3 years whether you like it or not, and it just wouldn't be sensible to rush it and to try and squeeze everything into such a short space of time. There's a reason why it's 3 years, and I think if they could make it shorter they would, but it's just not possible. On top of that, the emotional demand of doing everything in such a short space of time just would not be healthy for anybody, because if you're seeing that many clients, you're taking in all of their stuff, and that's a lot of stuff to take emotionally. The triads that you do in all your lectures, that is very emotionally heavy stuff that you guys talk about in those sessions, and for you to constantly carry so much emotional baggage, whether it's from your own stuff or other people's stuff, and then having your own personal therapy on such a regular basis where you're pouring out your own stuff. So it's just too much. Like, enough as it is, when we have triads and when we have personal therapy, we have so many happening emotionally, and it's overwhelming. So imagine you're seeing like 10 clients a week. That's a lot of emotional stuff going on there. You're going to your supervisor with all of that stuff, and then you're having your own personal therapy multiple times a week because you're trying to squeeze it all in 1 year, and then you're doing triads at uni where a lot of emotional stuff is coming up, because that's basically a counselling session between 3 people, so you're all taking it in turns. It's just way too much emotionally. Like, last year was really hard having triads and therapy and group sessions, so it just would not work. Like, I don't think anyone will be able to survive it emotionally or mentally or financially, to be honest. So that is why the counselling masters is 3 years and it's not 1 year. And if you do 2 years, good luck to you. I don't know how you'll manage, but if you do, then good for you. So I hope that answers your question, and I will see you in the next video.